It's the Anfield Wrap. Neil Atkinson with Paul Senior, Rob Gutmann and Paddy Fitzsimons to work through the aftermath of Liverpool versus Brentford. 2 of our goals to 0 of their goals. They don't even have a shot after the 55th minute, which I'm very, very into indeed. Rob Gutmann, excellent at times. Second half especially, comfortable, certain. It's a good performance. I think there'll be more again in the first half. The manager might wish was a little bit different. He'll work on that in the fullness of time, but we can only walk away happy.
Yeah, I mean, 2-0's the consummate top team scoreline in any home game in the top level. I don't think it tells us yet whether we're going to win the league or not, which I think all of us really want to know. We're going to have to wait for that one. It does tell us that you can't rule us out of anything because we were good. I think we were as good as you could expect us to be in that sort of game. If we'd rattled in another couple of goals, it might have felt a bit more... It might have provided more reason to get a bit carried away. But, you look at it back, you look at the the chances we created, you look at the control, we took the lead at the right time, we cemented it at the right time. It was a textbook performance, and it follows on really from Ipswich, which... past minute 45 is a textbook performance. I mean, if anything, I don't think it's any worse or better than that second half. It was a perfect continuation of it. And I think it really nicely sets us up for Man U next week. I think, in a way, this team under Slot needs it. I think I'm inclined not to look at us as 2 games into the season. I'm prepared to go back into pre-season a bit because I think this is an extension of pre-season in a certain sense. I'm seeing the same things I saw in pre-season. A steady, unspectacular start against Betis, real quality and great goals against Arsenal, demolition of Man U, even though they were feisty pre-season, very professional against Sevilla, and now we've seen Ipswich, and yesterday Brentford added to this, and it feels like a winning body of work. It feels like the manager's approach is to get football matches won in a really methodical, thoughtful way, which involves old-fashioned principles, really, of denying the opposition any chances or having the ball, and then passing around them and biding your time and then scoring the goals.
The old-fashioned principles is interesting to me, Paddy, because that's a lot of what I'm seeing as well. It's through a modern filter, don't get me wrong, but I'm seeing stuff that's reminiscent of 3 of Klopp's sides as we've gone all the way through, I'd argue. I think you're seeing stuff that's reminiscent of older Liverpool sides. You're seeing stuff that you can draw parallels to what City have done in recent years. I think the main thing is Brentford are better than Ipswich, are better than Ipswich. We'll finish the season higher in the table in Ipswich. But again, we never really felt threatened, and especially not second half.
Yeah, I think a big takeaway from it's really, and Rob touched on it slightly about getting carried away if it was a 5-0 or whatever and thinking we're going to win the league and things. I think, in a weird way, I think the manager would have preferred a 2-0 yesterday, like we got, because I think for the supporters and for the players, I think a 2-0 benefits you in terms of seeing the value and worth of a 2-0 win. I think if we'd have put a couple of them chances away yesterday to make it 4 or 5, I mean, I'm not saying it's a bad thing to win, 4 or 5-0, but I think maybe the players get a bit excited and think, oh, yeah, this is the football we always play. Whereas, seeing the benefits of a 2-0 win where the opposition doesn't get a sniff, you still play lovely football. I think it will benefit us in the long run, especially in terms of getting used to this more controlled, more controlling style of play. But I think you're right to touch on. I think we've got to be careful not to get too. A lot of people talk about how it's very different and things like that. I think the best Jurgen Klopp Liverpool sides were controlled. I think the year we won the league, there was a lot of games like yesterday. And I'm sure there'll be games later on this season that are a bit more Jurgen Klopp in terms of a little bit more life and death as the season goes on. But as a starting point, I don't think it's much more you can ask for.
I think it to me just feels like football should feel in August, Paul, in a way, which is you get to see something a little bit new. It feeling like I'm really struck by it at the minute. I think things feel life and death for Arsenal. And fair play to them, they get the win against Aston Villa at the weekend. But they're now in that realm a little bit. I quite like the realm we're in, where we're enjoying seeing what we're about, and we're getting to basically relax through games. I'm bang in favour of this, and I think you get to see yesterday a performance that offers so much surety. There will be better sides that come to Anfield this season. Arguably 12 better will come to Anfield this season than Brentford. But Liverpool do a really good job of, firstly, absorbing a bit of pressure first half, and secondly, just keeping them completely at arm's length second.
Yeah, you shouldn't be living your life on a knife edge as a football team, I don't think. And I think there was times, especially last season, where we were doing that, where the start of games we conceding silly goals and whatnot, and coming into this with a new manager and a sort of new approach, it's just been quite reassuring. I think it's almost a perfect start for the manager because it hasn't raised expectations too high, whilst looking. Well, I think there's been a few eyes put on Liverpool. We're like, oh no, they look steady. They've got a nice, clear system. They look well coached, well organised, and I think just in terms of, even as Rob touched on there, in terms of the pre-season, there's been nothing too spectacular, but there's a lot of takeaways where I think there's a few admiring glimpses going. They're controlled, but they're not wide open in a way in which we were, and there is a bit of boringness about it, and I'm all for it, because I was sitting there yesterday seeing Trent being taken off on 75, and I see that he's got a bit of a face on him and whatnot, but we're playing a long game here, and the amount of injuries and whatnot that we've gathered over the years, why not just play it at our pace and pass the ball about and just be in control, not concede chances after pretty much in the whole second half. So I'm very on board with this new style, I must say. And as much as there's a few murmurs about the atmosphere and whatnot, it's just a routine home win. It's not exactly a big team coming to town. It's not a matter of life or death yet for Liverpool. We're talking about Arsenal there. It's just a good start, and I think the real test comes at the weekend. But I for one, am very happy with how we started.
Just on it, Paul, I'll say again, I think they have a good spell. 25 to 40. They put us under a little bit of pressure. It's their best spell of the game. They could get a couple of opportunities. Second half, they come out. There's again a little bit of corners and bits and pieces. Collins, as a header from a corner on the 56th minute, they don't have another shot. And that used to happen a lot, 2019-20. Liverpool would just effectively de facto close a game down and just say this game's finished. I mean, literally the European Cup final is the best example of Liverpool just basically saying to an opponent for an extended period, this game's no longer your business, don't worry about it, we've got it now. And I was so pleased by that. I was so pleased by the level of control that was had. I thought that this is good stuff. This is also the stuff that, as you say, means that you can be in position March, April, May to have the massive games, to have the massive moments. I didn't even realise there was an atmosphere conversation, but I'm always sort of away from these things. That was happening last season as well, it's worth saying. I remember the first half of last season, there was so many people saying to me, oh, the atmosphere's quiet. I was like, no, it wasn't. It was great for 15 minutes against Bournemouth after got sent off and we needed to do something. McAllister got sent off, the atmosphere went through the roof, we went 3-1, everyone calmed down again and quietened down. The atmosphere will be there when they need it. The point is, though, they shouldn't need it every single time they play a game of football, and they didn't last season. You can't end up romanticising something about last season or even damning it. Last season, Liverpool play a lot of pretty mundane games of football. Season before, they play mundane games of football. The season they win the league, they play mundane games of football. 16-17, they play mundane games of football. Mundane games of football happen, Liverpool win.
I'll take 38 mundane games of football that we win that comfortably, and you look so reassured. And I think the well coached thing, the point I made previously, was that for the manager who's had such a short space of time with them, who's had to build a staff, only brought two, three guys with him from Feyenoord, has had to bring the likes of Heitinger and whatnot. They've had work to do, and I know transfers hasn't really been on that agenda, but to look as different as we do, whilst not throwing the baby out with the bathwater as well, still having almost like the pressing goodness from the Klopp era, and then the new calm, not taking as many risks as he's spoken about, the manager, and seeing all that so early with everything that's happened on the back of big international tournaments and getting players back late and whatnot. Great.
I don't think we've scored a goal under Arne Slot past 70-odd minutes yet, and I think that's probably colouring a few perspectives, because under Jurgen, didn't we have the greatest record in the history of the game for scoring goals after 80? Something like that. Yeah. Do you know what I'm sure something got trotted out. So we were very conditioned to coming out of a football match, having recently celebrated a goal. In the good times, in the medium times, and in the bad times, that was a recurring theme. I mean, even you go back to the title season, Neil, there's quite a lot of late winners or late clinchers going on. Under Slot, we've got our business done in very similar manners. Got the first goal, settled in, got the second goal, and actually with pre-season was making changes. So it's probably the reason we don't go and get we don't get goals in the last quarter of the game. But this is no bad thing. This is the way you would do it every single match if you could. You would put the match to bed after 60 minutes and then rest. And that's how you don't get injuries, and that's how you have energy in the late stages of season. I don't quite get the conversation around, I don't know, football as an entertainment. I never have, actually, before we get philosophical about it. It's about your team winning. I would, to be extreme about it, I have happily seen my team win terribly, but in the dullest football ever. 2-0 up by half-time, never scoring every single game of the season. You got to win. It's not a beauty contest.
But the thing about...
But we do play beautifully, by the way.
I'm about to say, that's for me, there's, in both games, there's a lot of fluidity. There's a lot of fluidity in second halves in both games. But the other thing that there is there's a lot of Liverpool chances between the sticks.
Yeah.
That's what I can't... A lot of Liverpool chances between the sticks and from 12 yards out, both matches. And then 2 goals, neither of them come from between the sticks and 12 yards out, but both are one-on-ones. Yeah. These are quality opportunities that Liverpool have got in both games that I think is worthy of an enormous amount of credit to player and team. They're just working it beautifully.
Yeah, that's what I was going to comment on. I don't think there was any point yesterday where we didn't look threatening, and that's what pleased me most, because all through the summer and things like that, there was talk of this more controlling style and things like that. And I kept thinking back to reading Pep Linda's book, and it was always their big motto was first pass forward. And it was that winning the ball back, and then whatever you do, first pass forward. And that obviously worked very well for Liverpool. Liverpool won loads of things using that style of play. My slight worry during the summer when I was hearing things like more controlling games and not always trying to score with every attack and things like that was when I first started to go on the match on the Benitez sides, there was a lot of 0-0 draws at Anfield where a side would come, put 10 men behind the ball, and Liverpool couldn't break it down. I thought one of the best things Klopp ever did was just stop that. Like we never seemed to draw 0-0 at home under Klopp, really. We'd always break a side down. That's probably because we've just got better players now. But yesterday, my slight worry was, it's all right having loads of the ball and controlling, but the Anfield crowd who's watched 9 years of Jurgen Klopp now and winning home games will get a bit nervous if we don't look threatening. But I on Rob's point about playing beautiful football, I thought we did. I thought we even last 25 minutes once he made the subs, I thought when Conor Bradley come on, I thought he's marauding down the right hand side. I thought Nunes looked lively and wanted to also. I'd like to get a third here. I thought there was never a point, same with second half against Ipswich, where I thought, this is controlling for the sake of controlling. I thought it was controlling to see the game out, but if Liverpool have to switch a gear and get another goal, they will. And I thought it was very pleasing yesterday in terms of looking at all the home games and thinking, this new way of playing, will we still be as threatening? Will we still? And I think we will. We've still got the players there. I think it's a slight tweak in terms of that mentality of first pass forward and things like that under Klopp and Lindes. I think that was the nature of the players we had. We had a younger Sadio Mane, we had a younger Mo Salah. Whereas I think maybe the new managers come in and looked at it and gone, the way you all are now, you don't necessarily have to attack like that. So Mo Salah's still world class, but he's a different kind of world class now. So first pass forward doesn't need to go over the top to Mo Salah. He can still run in behind. He can also play a few passes, play it to his feet, and trust him to pick that ball out. To play the final pass to someone. Diogo Jota isn't lightning quick and behind, but he'll always be there in the box. If we just do what you'd maybe call a Man City style of play, where we'll just do more passes around the box, we've got the quality to score goals. It doesn't have to be this force nature of an attack. But like I said, I didn't think there was any point yesterday where we weren't threatening and didn't look like we could score more goals.
There was a quote a few years ago, I don't know if you remember, there was a Swansea manager, and he said about putting a Formula One car in London traffic.
Yeah.
And when
Brendan, wouldn't it?
No, it was Spanish
17, 18, don't we beat City at home and then we go there in the weekend.
And they just frustrate us.
Yeah.
That when Paddy talks about being worried about the draws, that was a concern of mine as well, I must say. But actually what there is that there isn't a new patience, I think, around the team, that they just keep going, we're going to go again. And I feel like we're always having to caveat that we're not slagging the Jurgen off by praising the new style, but there was almost like we just go, and it's almost like we're just going to keep throwing something at the wall and hopefully something sticks. Where the quotes that the manager has, where he's talking about just not taking risks for the sake of it, I think it's really present, actually. And there was a point with Szoboszlai yesterday where I thought there should have been a...
You could have stuck Gakpo in.
Yeah, I'm just so accustomed to that pass happens, and Szoboszlai doesn't take the risk, And I can see the manager on the touchline applauding them for not doing that, and we just kept the ball and we kept going. And don't get me wrong, there could have been a chance, there could have been a goal, but it's about the right pass, and Liverpool continued to play the right pass.
It's not slagging Jürgen off. It's just to say that there is other ways of doing it. Because, like you said, if Szoboszlai plays that pass, we might have scored a third, and you know, we're not slagging Jürgen off because it was a very successful time. It worked. You know, even last season we were challenging with 8 games to go, but it's not to say there's not another way. Of doing it.
The Klopp teams played a lot of percentage passes for the simple reason that we were happy to lose possession because it then gave us a chance to win it back. I was nervy coming into the game about one element, and exactly what you hit upon under like the Benitez example, we're going to face a low block. It's one thing facing a feisty Ipswich on their own ground where they were always going to open up their guard and we were going to find space. Different thing where Brentford know they could frustrate us, especially if they've watched us and go, hang on a second, these want to be patient, let them be patient. We can just form a fucking wall in front of them. So I was nervy about that. And in the opening exchanges, we were very patient, and I thought, we're not really getting sighters here. A little bit. Whereas I think under Jürgen, you'd sort of half expect in the peak period, eventually the ball ends up wide at Jordan Henderson, and he just does that sort of golf shot into the back stick. It goes up in the air a few times. Someone gets a shot, then it's a set piece. The crowd gets up, and something begins to happen. This wasn't going to happen this way. It was back, side to side. Let's have a little look. Is someone making an overlap? The movement was always intelligent, but we weren't getting anywhere. Well, then what I did notice, we were then happy enough then, if that didn't work, they eventually got the ball back, we were happy to bait the press, and we are baiting the press in a very different way to the way it was happening under Jürgen. And that's what the goal comes from us bringing them back. We get it. We bait the press.
Which goal?
Our first goal. We get it on the counter attack, don't we?
But it was from a corner though.
Yeah, okay, sorry, but they're on top of us, is what I mean. But yeah, okay, not in that. Sorry, I'm getting it wrong. Not in that specific moment, but I noticed a lot of times before we were getting out with space from baiting the press, and that's something we were paid. The goal is a counter-attacking goal. You can't take that for granted.
But the goal's the same goal as the same goal as the goal we scored at Brentford in February.
Yeah,
in that they put everyone. It's interesting to me because again, certain principles are just there throughout football. If Brentford do Brentford things, and one of the Brentford things they do is they put everyone forward for set pieces. Yeah. And it's now 2 games on the bounce where Liverpool have gone, are you going to do that, are you? Watch this. It's different managers, but Diogo Jota's involved brilliantly in both of them, as I would point out. But it's more that idea of, if you're going to do X, well, we can do Y back to you. And being switched on to that is great to see. But as I say, we would have switched on to it in February when we did exactly the same thing, hit them on the counter, got through with a one-on-one and stuck it into the back of the net. If you're going to take these chances, and again, I think you can drive yourself mad by, I think at times acting as though football's either, is wildly different. It literally comes from Liverpool going, you want to throw everyone forward for a set piece against us. All the best.
Well, that's where the legacy from Jürgen's a positive.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Is because that first goal is straight from his book, and I think that's where you see the two worlds come together in a positive way. Is, okay, you want to play like that, we're going to play our stuff and we're going to play the possession-based football. But actually, if you want to put 10 men forward there, watch what we can do to you on the break as well, because that's in our DNA.
Yeah, and also the scoreboard now is on our side, and I think that's a really important point. Too often last season, if there is a criticism and the season before, is we end up with the scoreboard operating against us. And I think that I want the scoreboard on our side because it makes playing football easier.
You could see at times before it's still at 0-0, which I thought was different. You could see us prepared to go backwards with the ball to draw them onto us. You could see it against their own will. They almost didn't know what they were doing. We were shifting them 20 yards up the pitch at times. Not necessarily productively, but I thought, hang on, this is interesting. This isn't the game they thought it would be, where they just sit on the edge of their own box and wait for us. It was, whether we can do that all the time against the low blocks, I don't know.
Well, I think the key part of this, Paddy, is we're going to see it at some point where the scoreboard isn't on our side. And for me, that's going to be the test. The test of everything is what does it look like when we're getting beat? Now, we may never find out, and I'd be all in favour of that. But I think that's the key question, really, about which will happen to this side, because it happens to all teams. But so far, I like the idea that we're determined to ensure the scoreboard remains on our side as much as humanly possible. I think it's the thing that most makes playing football easier, is if you're winning a game of football. Yeah,
look, it massively helps. And Paul touched on there about Jürgen's legacy and the DNA and stuff like that. It's his players, isn't it? All these players are players he's brought in. So I'm not too worried about if the scoreboard goes against us in one game and we concede first, because these players have got enough experience of dealing with that. I'd like, as soon as you said it then, and I was thinking about it a little bit yesterday when it was 0-0, what happens here if we go 1-0 down. I'd like to think it'll be a little bit like City at the weekend with Ipswich, where it just happens. It happens Doesn't happen too often to Man City going 1-0 down at home, but they've got the players and they've got the quality to just go, well, we'll score 3 goals in 10 minutes and then it's fine. Because I think we are that good, and I think, back to making minor tweaks. I think we've got a really, really good side. I think we've got world class attacking players. So it shouldn't always have to be like a life and death. If you go 1-0 behind, it's got to be this mad atmosphere where we conjure up a mad atmosphere in 10 minutes like Luton last season, which is great. But I think if you go 1-0 down the first 10-15 minutes at Anfield, I think you can look at it and go, well, we've got over an hour here to sort this out. Do you know what I mean? And we've got the players to do it, and I think that might be what you see this season. Don't get me wrong, I don't think it's too many times where we do go down this season. I think that'll be one of the things he's, if you would even look at statistics around, and that'll be one thing he's clearly circled and gone, we need to pack that in. We need to stop conceding at home first, away from home. We need to stop going 1-0 down. So I think that'll be one of the key things they try and iron out. But I wouldn't be too worried, because I think this sort of new way of playing caters to just being calm and backing your quality.
I think that's, sorry Rob, I think that's where the real test of us of a fan base comes.
Yeah,
so,
that's what I'd be more worried about.
Okay, we're now 1-0 down, but we're still going to remain patient and we're still going to play the stuff, because that's where I think the Anfield crowd can be a negative in a way. Is we're naturally impatient and we want it to come, and you're like, if Liverpool aren't playing that forward pass, you're going to hear the moans and groans, and that's something where I think we all need to check ourselves a little bit and just be like, no, this is how we play, and we're going to have to just get, if that, I don't want it to happen, but if it does happen, then we are going to have to remain patient.
I saw it was in the last minute at Ipswich last week. The board had gone up, you knew there was only 2 minutes left, and we were still playing it square across at the back, and I was off my seat going, for fuck's sake, launch it. You know, you only had seconds ago, and I think I was right, by the way. But obviously...
You're a man who lives in the moment. He wanted one more goal.
I want a goal, but discipline is discipline, you know, and not with 1 minute to go necessarily, but exactly what Paul's saying. You know, we're 1-0 down, we want a siege, and we're going to see a team prepared to go backwards and side to side and backwards and have a little look and have a think, and that's going to drive us nuts a bit. And it might not fucking work, by the way, because it has worked broadly the last few years before thinking we've now taken this team up a level. We haven't yet, but it is a fascinating watch.
We are that good. Paddy, is something you said a minute ago. I think there's something really interesting. I want to talk about some individual performances, but there's a specific thing that I think we're showing that's really impressive. It's that ability to play 1-2s, to play almost a broken 1-2 at times. Goes here, goes back, goes here, goes X, then back, but always with forward momentum. There's always someone providing that forward momentum, that idea that we're always able to pass to a runner when we want to attack, you know, and I think that Salah's been so important to that, both in terms of what he does himself, but also how he can hold the ball up, bring people into play. I think it's an all-round excellent performance, even when things weren't going for him yesterday, because he has periods where I think his touch, he gets a bit frustrated himself, but he can't keep him out of the game. For me, that's the most exciting thing about Salah in this shape and the way the manager's used him so far and what Salah's done. You can't keep him out of the game, and that idea of pinging it into him, he holds it, there's a runner, or there's a layoff and then there's a runner, or the Salah lays it off, he becomes the runner. All of that, I think, is really exciting, and it just shows how Liverpool can turn teams around.
Yeah, no, he was great. There was a couple as well first half where the referee, in the space of about 5 minutes, just done nothing with. He stopped giving him fouls as well, and it's easy for him to get wound up with stuff like that. I thought he was brilliant. I mean, I was one in the summer he wasn't in the camp of moving central. I always thought his positions on the right wing for Liverpool. I think what's been most pleasing has been still that threat in behind. Obviously, you've seen it last week at Ipswich for Jota's goal, but there was a couple first half where he nearly got in, and you know, you play against quick fullbacks, and he just nicked it ahead of him, but he wasn't far off. He wasn't far off getting in behind there a few times. I think he looks so threatening and so sharp. There's obviously the goal that never was, when you're talking about quick 1-2s. He started off, obviously it's the Virgil switch to him, but as soon as he plays that first pass, he's gone, and that's his movement is telling the rest of the team, right, we're doing something here now. and they're all good footballers, so they only need to play a couple of 1-2s, and then before you know it, he's ran right around the other side of the goal. So when it comes to McAllister in the box, you've seen a Salah run the other side of Szoboszlai to put him in, and I mean that would have been some goal. But yeah, I just think he looks so threatening and so sharp, and you know, I'm not going to doubt he'll score another 20 goals this season. You know, we can talk another time about the contract and things like that. I think it's mad if they don't do everything they can to keep him, because he's unbelievable. I don't know how you'd replace him. I think, you know, I understood slightly the chat in the summer about moving him central, but I always thought I think a lot was made, and I understand why, but I think a lot was made, and people sort of got a bit carried away with losing the derby. And when we were rubbish at Goodison, we were terrible, and he wasn't great, and Michalenko did a good job on him, but I feel like coming out of that, it was just decided that, he can't beat a full-back anymore. You make an argument he's not been great at beating full-backs for a good few years now in terms of standing them up in 1v1s and beating them, but that's not his game now. You play off his movement. We've got Trent behind him to play passes in behind, like you've seen at Ipswich. He's that good on the ball, and he seems to learn a new trick every season. So last season his new trick was that outside of the foot, whereas left foot bent right around the corner. When you get him in space, and he's only going to get that space when he's in his position on the right wing. So no, he was brilliant yesterday, and I think it'll be more to come from him.
He should have shaved his head years ago, I think, because the conversation about his age has just gone. He looks like a fella almost reborn now. I know he's had his hair done and whatnot, but having the summer off is obviously a factor for him, no tournament and whatnot, but the conversation for me around Salah and his age and a Saudi move, this, that, it's always been boring. There's literally no drop-off. There's no drop-off in his quality. You see that yesterday. And yet, don't get me wrong, the end of last season wasn't great at all for many of the players for Liverpool. And obviously you look to Salah to be the game changer and whatnot. I think these games so far, and even in America, I thought he was absolutely magnificent.
I think it's a different football. I don't know, it's about drop-off in quality. He's not... You can't. There was a time at it, and let's say there was a peak where you could get it to him on the right wing, and he could start an entire move. Do you know
Isn't this the arc of any footballer's career? But you have to differentiate.
But we have to be able to say this without saying we're damning. What I think the new system, why it really helps this incarnation of Salah, is because it's short one-touch football requires a lot less dribbling. The Liverpool I grew up with in the late 70s, early 80s, nobody dribbled at all. It was all triangles to play around people. And this suits Salah more because he doesn't have the 5-yard, front foot pace he used to have. But he has the movement, he has the intelligence, and he still has the technique on the ball. And also, do you know what I think?
And also, he's not slow.
He's not slow, and he's very quick. And
he's become a slow, quick player, but he's still a quick player.
Do you know the other thing I think people underestimate is at any age you still need confidence, right? I thought that finish yesterday. I know he's one-on-one with the keeper, and people won't. It's not the hardest finish, but it quietly, the way he opens up his body was sublime, and it was rolling back the years. I don't even think we quite saw one of those last season.
He's sometimes guilty in them positions of taking an extra touch, and then it's on his right, and he'll try and shift it back onto it. But he just took it early enough when it was on his left. I thought it was a brilliant. He got
the weight on the he bent his leg and leant back and got his body round. It was absolutely sublime. And to me, it spoke to a player who is not rebuilding his confidence. I'm going to say his confidence was shattered last season, but the last third of the season wasn't good for Mo Salah, and by the end, nobody was that thrilled with him anymore. But I thought, against Ipswich, he had a slow start, but he got into it second half. The goal helped him. Goals help Mo Salah, and confidence helps all footballers. And I think he's getting better with confidence.
Goals help all footballers, Rob. They really do help all footballers, and I thought you saw it yesterday with Diaz as well.
Sure,
he gets through one-on-one, and he's missed at that end. He's missed one-on-ones, for Liverpool, and. Firstly, I never thought he was going to miss. As soon as he was through, I thought he'd score in this, which was an interesting little shift in my own mental thing. I thought he's going to score here, and it's an excellent finish. He gives the keeper a chance, but it's firm enough to ensure it still hits the back of the net. And then I think from there, his performance just went strength to strength. It's 2 good games for him back to back, including also a good game against Sevilla as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of quality in that goal, but Jota does fantastically.
Jota's outrageous.
But at the point he feeds the ball to him, Diaz is a long way from goal, and I think, okay, Jota's done this, but Diaz will continue the attack. He's going to get held up at some point because he's not being put 5 yards ahead of his man, but he does 2 very, very intelligent touches on it. I can't remember what foot he uses, but they take him away with pace. He gains half a yard. People have blamed the keeper for that. I've watched it back though. The keeper's weight is on the other foot. The keeper thinks he's sure he's going to go across him, but he does a Sadio Mane and twats it near post, doesn't he? So the keeper looks like he's near it, and it looks like he looks like he's given him a chance. He hasn't really, because he's totally done him. But we've seen the 2 goals in pre-season in Sevilla. The other one, we saw the goal I think we always want him to score, where he beats a man, drops the shoulder, curls it in. Another one which is arriving for a tap in. I think whether Diaz scores goals or not for you gets that pure end product that people want him from is from the positions you get him on the ball. There's a moment in the first half I pointed, I said to one of the people sitting next to me, I said, this is why Diaz gets sort of hung out as not having end product because he got the ball tight on the left. He'd skinned 2 men, another 2 came on top, and he just popped it off. And people want him to be fucking, scoring every 2 minutes. He kept us in possession there. There was a brilliant bit where he got clattered as well in the first half on the left. It was a pure bit of Sadio Mane to get us out when there was no right to get out, and he ended up on the deck because of it. It's where you get him. I think if you want Luis Diaz to be one of our main men, scoring and assisting wise, we've got to position him much, much nearer the goal. So his first touch is the touch before he gets a shot or a pass away.
Yeah. My only criticism of him in the past has been not taking that chance, and that's why I was so pleased with yesterday. Because
missing sitters.
Yeah, or when it matters, like I've seen him score 1-on-1s for Liverpool, but I've seen him score them at that moment. So obviously the City's City's the obvious example, and I understand why. But when he was running through yesterday, and I'm all the way back in the cop, but I was thinking, it's 0-0 in a game here, it's the first home game of the season, just put it away, and he does. You can't ask for much more than that when the game's at that state. No, I think he always looks threatening. He always looks like a nightmare for a fullback. I don't think he's as sharp as he was, but when he first arrived. But on Paul's point about the arc of a footballer, but same with Salah. I think fullbacks just cotton on to what a winger can be like sometimes. I think maybe he's lost a little bit with the injury, but I still think he looks like a really good footballer. Unless a massive offer come in, I wouldn't have entertained getting rid of him this summer.
Do you think his confidence again, though? Imagine he scores in the next 3. I think we'll see. I'm not saying he will, but if he does, I think we'll see a different footballer.
I don't know if it is confidence with Diaz. I think sometimes it's just... I think what I liked about the finish yesterday and why he did everything right was... and you mentioned the keeper. I'd want our keeper to be saving that, but a lot of keepers in this league are our goalkeeper. So you take it early and you hit it hard on target. Most of the time it'll go in, but I think... as he was running through, I thought it'd be very Diaz-y to try and get back over to his right, or the lad will catch up to him and he'll try and beat him, or he'll hold it up till Jota gets here, and then will he pick that right back? So there was a couple of times in the City game, which we've obviously cited, where it's not just the one-on-one. There was a couple of times when, isn't the one when he tried to knock it back to Nunes or something, when he sort of he nearly gets in and he tries to play it back to Nunes. There might be a one like that, but... I don't think it's ever confidence with him, because you see what he does on the ball, and I don't think he ever looks short of confidence. I think sometimes it's the obvious thing with a player like him. It's decision making in front of the goal, and sometimes it doesn't have to be the most perfect. I've cut back into me right and slotted it and bent it around the corner. Sometimes you just got to hit it dead hard at the goal, and Mane made a career of doing that at Liverpool, and take the finish early, and look at Jota's goals. Jota's goals are scruffy, but he scores more of them.
Yeah, I think that's where he's unfortunate as well. Actually, Diaz is because of what came before him in Mane. It's such a thing to replace him, and I think I'm particularly harsh on Diaz in a way, because I'm such a Mane fan. Like, you want the output, and I think the same's going to come whoever has the task of replacing Salah. No one wants that job. There was such big numbers from that position. They're trying to get 18, 19 league goals from wingers. There's not many people who can do that, but I think on a system point with Diaz, we spoke up in America, Neil, about winners and losers of the system. I think Diaz has been a real winner, but I think there's a weight towards the right-hand side, because when we go forward, there's almost a flat back 3, including Robertson. So I think there's not really any attention being paid for the left, but if Liverpool switch it, all of a sudden there's a lot of space for Diaz to play in, and
Robertson can get on his bike,
and then Robertson, you just see the cavalry coming with Robertson. It's I do feel the system is really helping him, because he is being given that time to play. But there's a point I just wanted to touch on Rob. He's got this really interesting touch, I think, where he's almost got like a bit of a drag first touch to take it away from. But sometimes you see wingers do that and the ball goes too far.
Yeah.
But he seems to have a real measure on it, and that ball from Jota yesterday is perfect. But it's the first touch that just absolutely kills the defenders.
Yeah. Just in general, the other thing for Diaz is, on the goals point, I think one of the things that kills him is Mane and Jota are both not just good goal scorers, but also scorers of big goals. I think that you both in a Liverpool career scored a lot of really significant goals, and I think that's something that also sticks in your mind then, and that does make things a little tricky.
Can I just say, Diaz, although I think he hasn't had the big goal in the big game like City or what have you, he does score a hell of a lot of firsts, or first equalisers. It's not often you'll see a Diaz rattling the third in a 4-0 win or the fourth in a 4-0 win. His goals tend to be pretty early on not early on, just important goals in games, equalisers, something putting you in front.
Okay. Canate, I think, Paddy, I think it's now 3 halves of football. It's worth saying it's also the second half against Ipswich, where I don't think he's put a foot wrong, particularly. I thought he was excellent yesterday. I thought he was the absolute business.
Yeah, when he's good, he's really good, isn't he? In all aspects of his game. I think even the things that you criticise him for in terms of weaker points of his game, so you'd say he wasn't as good on the ball as a Mata, but I think even when he's good, that's fine. I'm not saying it's prime Joel Mata, but I think even yesterday there was times where he brought the ball out and you thought, looks comfortable here, doesn't look like he's going to give the ball away at any point. He had a little jolly first half as well, which is very Joel Mata-esque, where he played a couple of 1-2s and he was halfway up the pitch. But no, he just looks, when he's like that 1v1 defending with him, it's just, it's hard to think of anyone better really in that, because he's so physical and he's so quick and he's so strong that you don't know how anyone beats him really. My criticism has always been with him, when he comes up with a big centre forward, he'll try and wrestle them too much, he gets too involved and he'll rely too much on his physical qualities. He didn't really have that yesterday, but no. But when he's like that, you do look around, think he could play centre half on his own here, because he just covers that much ground. There was a point, it might have been to do with the press or something like that, but there was a point definitely second half where Isis and the cop put Trent from one of their goal kicks was really, really high on one of their fullbacks, and you just looked at their left hand side, and he had about 3 of them stood on the side of the pitch, and he was just there, and you thought, yeah, all the best. Like, you attack down that side if you want. When he's on it, he is brilliant, and it's about keeping him fit, managing his games, and yet the longer he plays like this, it's only going to benefit us because you can't get past him. Managing his games, Paddy, but also managing his rhythm. Like, there's a right now, I think it is a bit of a difficult balance. I don't want but I think it can go too far the other way. I want him playing. No, you'd play him next week, wouldn't you? You play him next week, but also, we'll see when we get the fixtures, the draw for the Champions League and all of that. But I feel a little bit looking at it like, Forest Champions League game, Forest and Bournemouth both at home. I want to play in all 3. Yeah. And it might be that someone would say you've got to worry about the load or this, but then the next game after that's a League Cup game. Playing games like yesterday. Yeah, and there's a point about subs as well. There's a point that he can come off for half an hour to go, and I know that's a bit alien to football fans, subbing your centre half, but you get 5 of them, so I don't see why it would be too much of a problem. No, I do take your point about maybe last season that we didn't manage it the best in terms of there was games he sat out of where you thought, he's all right, he could be. But also let his rhythm keep going. He's passing the ball well. He passes it forward to Trent and Salah loads. Yeah, because I think that's the bit. You got to play football to play football. Because of the nature of him as well. I wonder sometimes if people forget that he's young as well. So when he's out the team, it's all right if Klopp puts his arm around the shoulder and says, it's to manage your games and things like that. But he misses Old Trafford last year, doesn't he? When I think a lot of people thought, I think Quanta might have played the midweek one in Europe, so I think a lot of people thought, Canate will come in for it. And he doesn't, and I think it's all right saying to someone, it's because of your fitness or whatever, but footballers are footballers, they want to play every game. You'd be thinking, no, it's not just about that. And I think a young lad, I wonder sometimes, my point about how we can sort of get engaged in these battles sometimes with centre forwards, Calvert-Lewin springs to mind and things like that, but I wonder if that's almost trying a bit too hard sometimes, when this is me game back in the team now, I don't want to miss the next 2, so I'm gonna try and do this, that, and then he can get himself caught up in these things where he's good enough to not even have to get involved in that.
I think you hit on the right. Well, you hit on an important point, Paddy, to remind people he's young. Yeah. Right, and I think we brought him in to be not just to play alongside Virgil, but to eventually be our main centre half. Yeah. You think, what is he now? Is he 23, something like that? He's 23, 24. I don't think he's even. He might even be 24. Whatever it is in centre half terms, he's young. You got. Virgil doesn't become a centre half of note till he's 25. 25 in May. Oh, is he? Sorry, he's twice next May. Okay. No, he turned 25 in May. Oh, he turned 25. Yeah. Okay, I still think he's probably a couple of years. Yeah, absolutely, 100% agree. And I think his very best. If you can have a fit Canate all season, you go. By next season, you might have just about the best centre half in Europe. But Liverpool have to, I think, to sort of play into all your points about he needs the rhythm and games. We need to find out whether his body can take it or not, because he's either our future, he is the heir apparent to Virgil, and we'll bring in someone to play alongside him, not someone to replace Virgil so much, or his body's he's going to show it's not recovering, it's not just a youthful set of injuries, that he's never going to quite be the 45, 50 game a season player we need, in which case we might also move on from him, but not build our defence around him. So I do think we do, without saying let's just go for him and push him to the limit, I do think we have to increase his load incrementally throughout the season and find out whether we've got a player for the long term or not.
Yeah, listen, it's a great performance, isn't it? From him yesterday, the frustration was towards the end of last season is you know that he can have a performance like the one he has yesterday, and when you're not seeing it, I don't know if a lot of us tended to give up on it towards the end of last season.
Everyone did basically after the derby.
And the same was for Szoboszlai in a way, wasn't it? That they had this similar end to the season where I think they pretty much kettled the managers head and kettled a lot of the fan bases head.
It's a lot of the same mistakes, I think, from the both of them, really. I think that's what, when you've seen them make the same mistakes time and time again, I think that maybe the manager looked at it and said, I've got like 6 games to go here, I can't be arsed watching it.
That they can be someone else's problem, but actually someone else's problem's been a joy for the new manager, hasn't it? Because I thought his performance yesterday was great. There was a header he won at the back post, and you could see how happy he was with it as well. Long live Ibu.
All right, coming up now, we've got John Gibbons. We're going to speak about Gravenberch in a minute, but we've got John Gibbons talking to Sean Coleman and Kate Davis from Honeysuckle FC, who are fundraising for Liverpool Women's Hospital. So here's John.
And it is John Gibbons now. I'm delighted to be joined in the studio by Kate Davis, who is Head of Fundraising at Liverpool Women's Hospital, and Sean Coleman as well. And they're here to talk to us about Honeysuckle and Honeysuckle FC and a big fundraiser that you've got coming up at the moment. But first of all, thanks for coming in to see us.
You're very welcome, John.
Appreciate it. I'll start with you, Kate. First of all, if you could give us a little bit of background to Honeysuckle as a charity, as a being, and why it was set up in the work that you do.
Certainly will. So the Honeysuckle Fund is one of 23 funds at Liverpool Women's Hospital charity, but it is one of the main ones that people like to give. A lot of donations come from grateful patients, so that's families who've lost babies, sadly. They want to give back and say thank you for the support they've had at the hospital during a bereavement. So the Honeysuckle Fund is really important to us, and it allows families to give in memory of the babies who they've sadly lost.
And it's been going for a while now. I'm aware of the charity from my own experiences, and so the number of people who you've unfortunately helped, but fortunately for them that they had that service that was available to them. Yeah,
absolutely. It's been going for about 14 years now, the Honeysuckle Fund, and a lot of families keep giving. They do it as an annual sort of donation in memory of the babies, so it is lovely. It's lovely to be able to provide that platform for them to remember the babies.
From it came a football team, I believe, Honeysuckle FC. So tell us a little bit more about that, please.
So it was founded about 18 months ago. It started out just as an idea, and then we had one night at Anfield meeting with the foundation, and then since then it's just grew. It started out with about 10 lads turning up, just to get an idea of where we wanted this to go, and then after the first session, which was freezing cold, it was ice on the pitch and everything, it nearly got postponed, and then since then it's just grew ever since, and it's good to see like dads starting off when they first walk in, not knowing nobody and having nobody to talk to then seeing them months down the line, opening up, talking about the experience, what they've gone through, and being able to create that bond with dads that have been through it years ago and to dads that are, like I say, just going through it.
And that's the great thing about connecting something like football, which unites a lot of us, especially in this city, around the grief and around the support, because I would guess if you were to ask men if they wanted to come to a support group and open up, that might be quite difficult, but do you just want to come down and have a game of football and then maybe talk when you're ready? It's a little easier.
Exactly, that's it. It's the bond of football. You can be a Liverpool fan, Everton fan, there's United fans in it as well. But yeah, there's a variety of people, different backgrounds, and it's just that combined effort of, we've all got this common interest of football. We can understand, play football, and then open up when you get to know each other a bit more. Or there's dads that open up straight away. But it's just having that common bond of football that just combines you with the next bloke along.
Yeah, no, it's incredible, and it must be a real buzz for you, Kate, to see that the guys supporting each other and to see them. It sounds like they've done this and they've developed it. It's grown over the time. They weren't put off by the ice in week one, and it's still going. No. And you must be really sort of proud of what they've done together.
We are thrilled, absolutely thrilled, and this wouldn't have been possible without the LFC Foundation as well. They've come on board. We've got Chris Kirkland as a coach for the team for Honeysuckle FC, and their expertise, their passion has really brought the team on, and it's something that we're really proud to be part of. There's a locker room session that they have beforehand, and it's a chance for the dads before they play football to have a chat about how they're feeling. And Sean's one of the sort of mentors for that, who facilitates the conversations. If any of our bereavement midwives can't be there, he'll do that. And it's just a chance for the men to talk about the shared experience of losing a baby and then go and play football. It's a fantastic, fantastic initiative.
So you're not just playing footy, you're getting together to do a little bit more as well to raise money. I know it's in September and it's quite a thing what you're doing, but I'll let you tell everyone.
So yeah, as you can tell by the accent, I'm not from around here. We're actually from Biddulph in Staffordshire, so we're aiming to walk, well, we are going to walk from there to the Liverpool Women's over 2 days of the 7th and 8th September. 50 miles in total, so we're doing 32 miles on the Saturday, walking to Warrington, and then from Warrington to the Women's on the Sunday is another 18 miles, so it's going to be brutal.
No, that's incredible. I remember we did a fundraising, we walked from Southampton FC to Anfield via all the grounds. Wow. That was about 25 miles. I can't imagine getting up the next day. When I got up the next day, I think I only made it to the Kettle. So the idea of doing that again the next day, you know, fair play to you.
Yeah, it's not going to be nice at all.
But you're doing it for the good cause, you're doing it for something that you all believe in, and because it's obviously, you know, been so important for you and for other people that you've seen, you want to see it keep on going.
That's it, just giving something back to the women's after what they've done for me, Carly and Alicia. It's give us that time with Harper. After we lost her, it was just a case of right now we need to give something back. So it's, yeah.
Yeah, no, it is fantastic what you're doing, and so if people want to support, if people want to maybe, you know, let you know that they're thinking of you, but also obviously, you know, financial donations is what we want as well. How do people support?
So I've got a Just Giving page, Sean Coleman, or it's Harper's Hike as well. You can just find it on there, or I can share the link with you, and if people want to come down and give us a hand walking, that would be a help as well, because I think we're going to need it on the second day more so.
Yeah, so a link will flash up now. No pressure, Jordan. The link will flash up if you're watching on YouTube. If you're enjoying this as a podcast, we'll try and put the link in the bio as well. If we have forgotten sort of any of that, do message me or the Anfield Wrap director. We'll point people towards that. But if people can give a little, you know, it's tough for a lot of people at the moment. But you know, a few quid if they can help. But also a bit of moral support around a couple of days as well. If you can walk a little bit, or just a little message to say, like, you know, well in, keep going. Stuff like that.
That's it.
Yeah, and good on Chris Kirkland as well, by the way. He does so much in the city.
He really does, yeah. We're really lucky to have him with us. So,
he was in, so he's come down for one session, and he's just got that hook to it. He just comes down every time now, so it's real detriment to him as a character. He's a great person.
Fantastic. And if people want to get involved in the football as well, he might have, you know, not heard about it the first time, or maybe it wasn't for them, but are listening to this now and saying that would help me. I assume there's always a space in the locker room for any men who want to get involved.
It started off literally with about 10 people, and then now there's about 40 people in the group, so it's just progressively growing and growing. But yeah, anytime. And it isn't just dads, it can be granddads, uncles, brothers, anything like that. It's a men's football team, not just a dad's football team as well.
Yeah. Is it competitive, the football?
Yeah. Tries not to be, but yeah.
We can't help it, can we? You start off with the best intentions. Listen, best of luck on the walk, best of luck obviously with the football. And as I say, there's a lot of people who are asking for support at the moment, and we're aware of that, and people, you know, finding it tough a lot themselves. But if you can spare a few quid, it is a fantastic thing what they're doing, and they want to keep it going. They want to give back to the Liverpool Women's, which we're lucky to have in this city, and have experienced that firsthand. And do please give a little or a lot if you're feeling generous today. But thanks for coming in, guys, and best of luck with the walk.
Thank you. Thank you.
Great stuff from John there, and Sean and Kate as well, so do get involved if you can. Coming up, I'm going to be putting tickets on. Well, we're going to be putting tickets on sale for our for the book launch / Anfield Wrap live shows that are in Belfast and Liverpool on Tuesday. We're recording this on Bank Holiday Monday, so on Tuesday the 27th, those tickets will be going on sale for Belfast. On Friday the 27th at Lavery's or Lavery's, you'll correct me whichever one it isn't. On Friday the 27th at in Belfast, and on the 26th, on Thursday the 26th, we will be at Beer Keller. Very, very kind of them in order to do the live live show and book launch of my book Transformer, which I want you to buy and pre-order if you can. That would be absolutely brilliant. I also want you to subscribe to the Anfield Wrap as well. You know, a lot of demands, a lot of asks. That week as well, we will be in London with a live show on whatever night the EFL Cup game isn't. Liverpool will play Tuesday or Wednesday in the EFL Cup, and we have a venue sorted in London. We'll confirm all of that next week, but it will be the Tuesday or Wednesday when the EFL Cup game isn't, and we're still just putting matters together for the Monday in Edinburgh. Still just trying to confirm that, and we'll get them on sale as well, but do mark your calendars for that now, going all the way through, and the book is out on Thursday the 26th of September. More positive things on that to come in different ways and means all the way through. Ryan Gravenberch, Paul, I'll come to you first on him. First and foremost, I think he looks like he's really enjoying it. And I think that's almost the most important thing. He looks like he's desperate to get stuck in. I liked how he panicked a couple of times yesterday when there was a slight sniff of an opportunity for them. It looked like he was desperate to put the fire out. And I like that as well, as much as I like the stuff he's doing on the ball.
Yeah, again, that point I made earlier about winners and losers, he's probably the biggest winner of the whole system, I think, and obviously the lack of transfer activity. And I think he's showing a few Liverpool fans, maybe me included, that he belongs here. You know, he's technically really good passer of the ball, and physical as well. I thought he won a few battles there yesterday, and a few where he got himself out of situations with his technical ability as well. I think there was a time when he knocked it over someone's head and whatnot. I thought he was great, and I think McAllister's had a bit of a funny start to the season actually, and I think Gravenberch maybe done a bit of heavy lifting for him, really.
Grew into it, McAllister. I thought he was poor first half at times.
Yeah, he really was, and I thought the same as basically of McAllister the whole season so far. And, you know, he's obviously had to cope with America and whatnot to play, and I wonder if he's not quite found his rhythm yet. I've got no doubt he will, but I think Gravenberch has been the sort of standout midfielder, and in a midfield with McAllister in it, you sort of don't expect that. But yeah, really, really good. And I think obviously the manager's shown a lot of faith in him to start there. Curtis Jones has got a job on to get back in that team, I think, because if he got this big test is Sunday. I think Gravenberch is to go and play against a decent opposition and have that similar sort of performance. I'd really like to see him kick on from here as well. As almost like if you talk, I think there was a Pep Lijnders interview towards the end of his time at Liverpool or in the summer or whatnot. He said the most exciting signing that we've made in recent days, and he says Ryan Gravenberch. So there's been a lot of talk about Gravenberch, and obviously that raises expectation amongst the fan base and whatnot. But we need to see him do it, and he's starting to do that. But there's a level he's at now, and I think he needs to go again in terms of being solid in that midfield. I
think last season you seen straight away that he was a footballer. You know, a couple of the early games when he really shone and done well. I think there was some of his touches and things like that. I think you could tell there's a player there. My worry always with him as we went through last season was just, is he one of them you'd always think, has he got a home, has he got a position, where'd you quite fit someone in? Because at Liverpool you can't have a luxury player, you can't have someone who looks good one game's out of three, especially in that midfield. And no, I think he might have found it here in this position. You know, I think you're right to say about next week being the test, but I sort of think about it's really hard, and we've talked a lot through the summer, especially with the transfers, about how it's such a niche position, this six, and how there's a real shortage out there in world football. You know, I think anyone who plays there this season, unless they magically find someone this week and sign someone, it's going to have games where they struggle, and I think we're going to have to swallow that. I'm not suggesting that's going to be next week at Old Trafford. I just think there's going to be little teething problems.
I think it's a little bit old-fashioned, the current midfield makeup, because it's almost box to box, one stays, one goes. And you'd see that with Keane and Scholes, or it's almost you haven't seen that for a while, because everyone sort of plays a 3, one's deep, 2 8s, one of the 8s can be a 10, whatever.
Do you know what Soboslai said last week? He goes, we're 3 different positions in midfield. He goes, we're a 6, an 8 and a 10. So the one that goes is the one he's calling the 8, which is the second in the double pivot.
Yeah, but I think that can be whichever way. If Gravenberch is on the right and McAllister on the left, if the attack is going down the left, then McAllister can go and join in, and then Gravenberch drops in.
I think the big thing he's got going for him as well is because of his youth and the nature. He can cover some ground. He's quick, isn't he? So I think there's a couple of times yesterday where not saying he was out of position, but they turned over possession pretty quickly, and he was back right over to where he needed to be quite quickly.
Took Virgil out on one.
Yeah. There was one as well where I think he might have tried the pass as well, and he lost it, and he won it back quite quickly as well. I think I don't know how tall he is, but he's leggy. So he got his toe.
Yeah, he's like strides like Fabinho does.
Yeah, he got his toe to a couple where you thought he's done well winning that back. And he's just so comfortable on the ball. You know, I think there was loads of times last season when this position was talked about, and I thought McAllister did really well when he played it, but there was obviously games where he got caught out a little bit. I think this might be the case with him, but you know, he looks really comfortable in it. And you know, I always found it interesting. You know, when they signed him, there was all that talk of, you know, they'd identified 3 game changes for Liverpool. I think Bellingham was one, he was another. They thought they'd get one of them, and then there was the point last season where I thought, well, you know, I see what they mean. He looks a very good footballer, but I don't know where. When we're talking about how there's a shortage of sixers in world football, I think this could be where he could be the game changer for us, because he's so comfortable on the ball, and all his qualities last season, where I talked about his first touch takes him away from a player every single time. The problem last season was, what does his second and third do? But in that sixth position, when you're receiving the ball back to goal, I always say, like, I've played that position myself in football. It's a different sport, receiving the ball with your back to goal. I think that's when people talk about centre, I always said, well, it's very different playing right back when you're looking at the pitch in front of you, when you're getting the ball off a centre half and there's 2 people pressing you. He just seems to get away from them every time with the first touch he takes, and then that opens the pitch for Liverpool. So, you know, I think it's really exciting.
Yeah, the only thing I think is against him is his age. He's young and inexperienced for the position. When I watched him when he was young at Ajax, he seemed to be in a deep position. I think if you could almost take him back 3 years and be Fabinho's understudy, and be the lad who came in maybe in the League Cup.
He's still young enough to learn it, though, isn't he?
Well, he is, but he's got. To me, he's got the skill set and he's got the physicality, and give him a couple of years playing the position, as long as we don't break him in it, I think he'll be an elite number 6 in the game. At the moment, there are bigger tests to come, as you say, because he's not really come up against a midfield press that's taken him back to goal and tried to bully him yet. I haven't seen him bullied in the position yet.
Or when we haven't got the ball for a bit, you know, it's a away game where another side's got the ball for a long time, he's got to keep tracking runners and things like that. We've not seen that yet, but I do just think, you know, they're clearly trying to find, with the lack of transfers, they're clearly trying to find solutions within the squad. It doesn't look like a bad one so far. No,
there was a moment, was it in the second half, where he broke forward into attack, really quite excitingly. I thought a little bit Patrick Vieira. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's got that kind of physicality and body shape to him that you think, you know, you're mobile, you're rangy, so you feel like you're 2 players in one at times, but you've also got the ambition and skill set, and pace is an important thing in that position, backwards and forwards, to get, you know, to make himself an attacking threat as well, and I really like that.
Okay. I enjoyed that Virgil and Robertson, quite under the radar, but Mbeumo barely kicks it, which suggests that both did a very, very good job indeed. I think Mbeumo didn't really want to know where Virgil was concerned. I want to talk about transfers briefly. It's a week now until the window closes, Paul. The clock is ticking down. We're going to do a gutter show ourselves in a minute or two, but you know, my appetite is whetted for what I think this team could be capable of. But the flip side of that is, even with one knock to Curtis Jones yesterday, the bench is light in terms of what you would do in midfield, how you would change it. I don't think it would be impossible for Elliott to play where McAllister's been playing, from what I've seen of that position so far. So I don't want to overstate it, but it doesn't take much to imagine what, you know, a couple of players would do right now to make the makeup of the squad look all of a sudden like, yeah, it could be breathtaking, this.
Yeah, do you know what? There was a point, obviously, last season where we got ourselves into a great position. We'd had some injuries, well, quite significant injuries through the season, and you just wonder sort of what if we just had that extra player who could have come in at that time and just got us through those hard times. But I understand it's difficult to get players to come in and take a first team spot, but there are players out there. We haven't spent a significant sum in a while, and there's a train of thought now that the building a pot for next season or whatnot. We tried to spend £110 million on a midfielder last year. We've obviously shown our hand and tried to spend 50 odd on a midfielder, and both midfielders had to quite like it, whether it was Caicedo or Zubimendi. I'm not obsessed whether it needs to be a number 6, though. I think it could be a more attacking player, and I think everyone's talking about, there's not many number 6s in the world. We'll go and buy a number 8. Let's just play the numbers game. Eight's a lot of the time can join in and play 6. Gravenberch is showing that in terms of being able to go forward and join in the midfield. Go and buy that slightly more attacking midfielder. Just give yourself a number in there. I don't think they can have a summer, surely to God, where they've brought a new manager in and he hasn't gone, I quite fancy this style of player to come and improve this team further. Managers always talk about having an idea of how their team makes up. You've literally just gone, here's someone else's team, go play with that. And he's a good coach, and we've been talking so positively about how he's organised them and whatnot. Just give him a chance with something. I hope we do something. The fact there's no rumours, and I know Liverpool are sort of pretty watertight in terms of the targets and whatnot. I don't know if the guys like the likes of Edwards and in FSG are trying to be a bit smart and thinking that there's going to be big squads towards the end of the window that need trimming and there's going to be opportunity. They've got to do something. They've got to do. I don't think we're desperate, but I think it's just the right thing to do is to add one or two more.
I think what you've said there, and I think it's maybe the first time I've heard it said this summer about the midfield, that it doesn't actually have to be a specialist number 6. I think they'd love a specialist number 6. But you know, the morning of the game we were exchanging messages in one of our WhatsApp groups, and we thought Curtis was definitely out. There was even a small rumour that Gravenberg had a knock, where I suddenly went, hang on, who the fuck are we going to put in this midfield? And I'm sorry, I know he had a lovely spell for us. We exceeded expectations, but Endo is not at the level we require in this squad. And I'd rather have, well, Paddy, you want to go on, Endo? Let me finish. I would rather have another player who's at the level of the others, being not a specialist number 6, than have to put up with him again, quite frankly. Paddy, you want to disagree with me? You look like you do.
No, I could stick up for Endo all day, really. I think it's been mad the way he's been talked about in the summer, really. I think we played our best football last season when he was in the team. And I think he was great in loads of games. My whole position.
Conor Bradley was in, and Trent wasn't in either. There's a lot of things came together.
I could talk about that as well, Rob, to be fair. No, I think
got your waste man on that one, Rob. Go on.
Oh dear.
I think my thing with transfers is, and I understand that. I think it's really hard. But when people talk about getting like a body in a midfield, like Paul mentioned, an 8 or whatever, I think the worry I have is, they did do that last summer in terms of the 6th position and got Endo in, and then it's only been 12 months, and I think a pretty good 12 months for him, and people turn around and say, well, he's not good enough. I don't want to get into a position where we buy someone every year as a number and to fill a gap, and then we're talking about trying to shift them on, because, you know, by all the talk, they had an offer for Endo, and it was a decent offer, and they weren't quite willing to take it at that point. But there's also a point where he turns around and says, well, I've got another 3 years on my contract and I'm quite happy to stay. And then you get into a position that other clubs have, Man United, for example, where you just got lads there who just don't want to leave because they're on a like contracts, and why would they, you know, a lot of people would have took Amrabat last summer that United have signed. They're in a position now where he won't get in their best team, and then he's sat on a 5-year deal. And my only worry is with transfers, and we talk about it, and I appreciate it's hard, is that if you just get someone in because you look at it and say it would help and things like that. Well, Endo really helped, and then 12 months down the line, people are saying he's not good enough.
I'm saying someone who's good.
I mentioned 2 names yesterday when we were out yesterday, and I had not really seen them mentioned on one, and they're probably not even possible. But I just thought, I was trying to think of people who maybe wouldn't demand a starting place, but could just come in and help the squad. You know, if you had a day like that where you're like, oh, Gravenberg just got, he's out with the flu and Curtis has got a knock or whatever. Well, so I was thinking about trying to think outside the box, because you're always looking top European. I was thinking, what about Ruben Neves? You know, would he be all right in and around the squad? Would Milinkovic-Savic, the lads that went to Saudi? There's a question around appetite, and I get all that, but there are footballers that don't have to necessarily start, that can swell your bench.
Also there's last summer's hit list: Coop Miners, Kone, Thuram. You know, there's those sort of players.
Well, a couple of them have moved, so.
Well, sure. Well, Thuram and Kone haven't moved.
Thuram's moved.
Oh, where did he go in the end?
Milan, yeah.
Okay. Kone's still up for grabs, and Coop Miners.
So, yeah.
So, you know, those are players with a trajectory, arguably. Would you have one of them?
Coop Miners, definitely. Atalanta are a funny one, aren't they, in terms of the manager and how much Gasparini's important on their own career. But Coop Miners, I would definitely have. I just feel like there's been an obsession with 6, and you know, even when we bought Wijnaldum was playing almost like a 10 for Newcastle.
Footballers move positions. Yeah, it's one of the most missed things in all of this conversation. The one I keep coming back to is Fernandinho scores a goal in a cup final against Liverpool playing right wing. And no one at that point was saying that lad's going to go on and be a holding midfielder.
If you grow up playing midfield, Neil, you're not necessarily pigeonholed as a number 6 or a number 8. You just play midfield. You know the job, and I know it's a bit more specialist than that. But a top footballer can adjust from 8 to 6 pretty easily. There are 8s out there that are decent in the tackle, but also can play, are press resistant. You know, and I think we've been just looking so specialist that just swell the midfield numbers by 1, and I think everyone will be
But a
pretty
good
happy.
one.
Yeah,
I think that's what you're worried about, Paddy, is a mediocre one, aren't you?
Yeah. But the concern on a good one is, not you can have too many good players. It's just it's keeping them all happy and things like that. And does a player come in thinking I'm not going to start? I think it's really hard. I wouldn't be averse to getting one more in. But I do appreciate why it's hard for them.
Okay, go on.
I was going to say, the other one's still available on the freeze, Rabiot. There's midfielders out there. Rabiot's in the French World Cup squad. Plays every week.
He's the mad one, isn't he? Because he looks good for France, doesn't he?
Yeah, all right then. Excellent stuff. Been a really good Anfield Wrap. Thanks to Paddy, thanks to Rob, thanks to Paul. If you want more transfer stuff, we're going to do a gutter right now. We're going to crack on from there with all the rumours, everything that you need, and all the way through the week as well, leading all the way up to transfer deadlines. I subscribe, download the app, do all the bits and pieces. It's been an absolute pleasure, this, in the same way that Liverpool were an absolute pleasure.
Bring your digital life to a whole new level with NordVPN. Choose the fastest VPN on the planet and explore the internet without interruption.